Welcome, my friends, to the darkest corners. Today's tales are of cryptids. Hope you enjoy, and if you do, please like, subscribe, and if you don't, please hit the dislike button. Any interaction helps this channel grow and helps me learn what my friends enjoy. Have a great week. I had been studying Bigfoot for 7 years before I finally met it. Not in the blurry way, no fleeting silhouette through fog, no snap branch, and racing heart followed by excuses. I mean met it, close enough to smell it, close enough to hear it breathe. I was a field researcher specializing in primate behavior anomalies, which is a polite academic way of saying I chased things most people laughed at. The Pacific Northwest was my last stand. Thousands of sightings, consistent behavioral patterns, enough data that even skeptics quietly admitted something was out there. I converted my old cargo van into a mobile research unit. Insulated walls, blackout curtains, sound dampening foam, motion sensors, and an infrared camera system I could monitor from a small screen mounted above the bed. I parked deep inside Olympic National Forest, far beyond cell service, down an unmarked logging road the Forest Service claimed had been reclaimed by nature. That was the first red flag. The road hadn't been reclaimed. It had been used recently. Tire tracks were pressed into the mud, too wide for ATVs, too narrow for logging trucks. I set up camp anyway. The forest felt wrong that first night, not threatening, watchful. The usual ambient noise of insects and nocturnal animals died as soon as the sun dipped below the canopy. No crickets, no owls, just wind brushing the trees in long, deliberate sighs. I told myself it was excitement, anticipation, confirmation bias. At 11:47 p.m., my motion sensors tripped, not one, all four. The van rocked slightly, as if something heavy had leaned against it and then reconsidered. I froze, one hand hovering over the camera monitor, the other wrapped around the bear spray I kept by the mattress. The infrared feed flickered on. At first, I thought the camera was malfunctioning. The image showed a wall of white heat, too close, too large to resolve them into shapes. Then it moved backward, and the shape assembled itself. It was over 8 feet tall, shoulders wider than the van's hood. Its arms hung too long, knuckles brushing the ground. Its body was covered in thick, uneven hair that looked matted, clumped with mud and pine needles. But it was the face that hollowed my chest. Human, almost. Deep-set eyes reflected the infrared light like polished stone. The nose was flat, the mouth wide, but not animalistic. Intelligent, evaluating. It leaned down until its face filled the camera frame. Then it smiled, not a friendly gesture, not curiosity. It pulled its lips back slowly, deliberately, exposing teeth that were too uniform, too human. It knew I was inside. It knew I could see it. The van shuddered as something struck the rear door. Once, twice, a warning. I didn't breathe, didn't move. My rational mind collapsed under the weight of what I was seeing. This wasn't an undiscovered ape. This wasn't an evolutionary cousin hiding in the woods. This was something that understood me. The creature stepped back into the darkness, and the forest swallowed it whole. I waited until dawn before I dared to open the van doors. Outside, the ground was torn apart. Footprints, massive, deep impressions, circled the van in tight loops, overlapping, as if it had paced for hours. Tree trunks nearby were marked with long, vertical gouges, bark peeled away like skin. And then I saw the symbols. Scratched into the dirt near my front tire were 3 interlocking spirals, too precise to be accidental, too deliberate to be animal behavior. I packed up immediately, or tried to. The engine wouldn't turn over. That's when the knocking started. Slow, heavy, from the roof. One knock, pause, 2 knocks. It was mimicking thought, pattern, communication. I grabbed my keys, my recorder, my backup camera, anything I could carry, and stepped out of the van. The forest was silent again. Then I heard it behind me, breathing, low, wet, patient. I turned. It stood between me and the road. Closer now, close enough that I could see scars beneath its hair, old wounds, healed cleanly, evidence of age, experience. This thing had survived hunters, winters, decades. Its mouth opened, and it made a sound I will never forget. Not a roar, not a howl. It tried to speak. The noise scraped out of its throat like broken language, syllables collapsing before they formed, a failed imitation of human speech, and the frustration in its eyes told me everything. This wasn't an animal avoiding civilization. It was an intelligence exiled from it. I don't remember running. I don't remember falling. I only remember waking up hours later, miles down the road, barefoot and bleeding, my recorder still clenched in my fist. The van was gone when I returned with authorities. So were the tracks. So were the trees. The forest had reset itself. My colleagues dismissed my report, said it was stress, hallucination, a bear, a prank. But last night, while reviewing old audio files, I found something I don't remember recording. A single file, 30 seconds long. At the very end, beneath my own panicked breathing, you can hear it. A voice, low, rough, practicing a word, my name. And this time, it says it correctly. Out in West Texas, a man can own hundreds of acres and still feel like he's being watched. My family ranch sits on nearly 900 acres of scrubland, mesquite and dry creek beds, just outside a town so small it barely earns a name. We raise cattle, goats, and a few horses, animals that depend on routine, on fences holding, on predators staying where predators belong. That order broke one August morning. I found the first goat drained and stiff near the south fence line. No blood pooled beneath it, no signs of a struggle, just 2 puncture wounds in the neck, clean, precise, like the animal had been held still while something fed. I blamed coyotes at first. I always do. Ranchers learn to lie to themselves because the truth costs money. By the end of the week, 12 animals were dead. The strange part wasn't just how they died, it was where. Pens locked from the inside, barbed wire cut clean through, not torn, tracks in the dirt that started and stopped without leading anywhere. Whatever was hunting my land wasn't just killing, it was choosing. Neighbors started whispering the word no one says out loud. Chupacabra. I don't believe in legends. I believe in calibers and fence lines and hard facts, but I also believe in patterns. And this thing had one. It hunted only at night. It avoided floodlights. And it never killed more than it could drink. I set up trail cameras along the perimeter and slept in the barn with a rifle across my chest. The nights were dead quiet. Too quiet. No insects, no coyotes, just the sound of cattle shifting nervously in their pens like they could hear something I couldn't. On the 4th night, the cameras finally caught it. The footage shook me. It moved low to the ground but stood upright when it fed. Its skin looked gray and stretched too tight over its frame, like it didn't belong on its own body. Spines ran down its back, short and jagged, twitching as it drank. Its head snapped up suddenly, toward the camera eyes reflecting red in the infrared. Then it grinned, not baring teeth, grinning. That was when I stopped pretending this was just an animal. I tracked it the next day to a dry arroyo that cut through the far end of the property, where the land dropped away into limestone caves I'd warned my kids never to explore. The air smelled wrong there, metallic, sour, like old meat baking in the sun. I went down into the arroyo armed and angry. I found bones, hundreds of them, cattle, deer, coyotes, even feral hogs, stripped clean and stacked in piles like trophies. Some were arranged in circles, others were wedged into crevices too small for anything human to reach. That night, I baited it. I tied a sick calf near the arroyo and waited in the dark with night vision goggles and a .308. The wind carried my scent, but I didn't care. I wanted it to come. It came fast. The ground vibrated before I saw it. It crawled out of the ravine like something being born wrong, limbs bending at angles that made my stomach turn. It sniffed the air, spines bristling, then locked eyes with me through the darkness. It knew the trap. It didn't run. It charged. I fired twice. The first shot tore into its shoulder. The second should have dropped it. It didn't even slow down. It hit me like a freight train, knocking me off my feet. I remember the smell, rotting blood and wet earth, and the sound it made as it pressed its face inches from mine. It clicked its teeth together, not threatening, testing. Then it let out a scream that split the night open, a high-pitched wail that sounded like a dozen animals dying at once. I felt pressure behind my eyes. The cattle began to panic, slamming into fences, snapping posts like matchsticks. The thing released me and vanished into the arroyo, dragging the calf with it. I lay there until morning, too afraid to move. I called in professionals after that, wildlife officials, private hunters, men who claimed they dealt with things like this before. They searched for 2 days, found nothing, no tracks, no bones, no caves, like the land swallowed it whole, but the killings didn't stop. They just became more selective. Now it takes one animal every few nights, always the sickest, the weakest, like it's thinning the herd, like it's managing my ranch. Sometimes, when I check the fences at dawn, I find new puncture marks in the posts, higher than any animal should be able to reach. And sometimes, when the wind dies and the land goes quiet, I hear something clicking its teeth in the dark, waiting.